Just your average person on an unusual day. Narrated by Paul Baston. Written and produced by Tom Greatorex. Prologue. Once upon a time, there lived a young boy called Richie. At 17 years old, Richie was really just your average person without much of a care in the world. Although he had many close friends, Richie generally liked to be independent and hard-working at college. This way, it kept him out of what he liked to call trouble. Chapter 1. The Newspaper Headline. One bright and sunny Saturday morning in a small town called Woking, Richie awoke from his bed. Still half asleep, he got out of his bed and headed out of his bedroom into the kitchen. As he entered the kitchen, he grabbed a local newspaper from the kitchen bar. While flicking through the paper, he spotted a headline that read, "Disturbance in Horsell Common." Horsell Common being a woodland area situated very close to Richie's house. Richie said, "I go on runs there." Captivated by this headline, he read the page. A gang of 3 men and 1 woman was spotted causing a disturbance to a local man's house located in the forest of Horsell Common. When the press caught up with the elderly gentleman, he told them that the gang had tried to burn down his greenhouses, as well as vandalising his property by spraying graffiti on the outer walls of his house. Furthermore, he described roughly what he saw of the identities of the gang. Young, 17 or 18 in their college years maybe. He hopes the police can catch these stupid, despicable teenagers. Richie put the newspaper down and rushed up the stairs. Moments later, Richie prepared to leave the house and shouted up to his mum, "I'm just going to get my hair cut." Richie headed out of his house. Chapter 2. Richie's Haircut. He got into his local village and continued up the pathway to the hairdresser's. As he reached the hairdresser's, he entered, and a woman at the desk greeted him. "Good afternoon," she said. "Good afternoon," he replied. "I have a hair appointment with Antonio." "Ah, yes, have a seat and he'll be right with you. Would you like a drink?" "Yes, please, water will be fine." He took his seat and waited for Antonio. Soon after, Antonio burst out of the door.
"Ah, good afternoon, Richie.
"What'll it be today, just the usual?" "Yes, please," Richie replied. "A little shorter this time?" Antonio went round to Richie and said, Sure, my friend. Let's get cutting." Antonio grabbed the scissors and began to cut Richie's hair. He started by cutting the right side of Richie's hair.
Hey, let me speak, please. I will start by cutting the right side of your head.
Just around here.
Now I will go around to the left side of your head. Hey, Fernando. Yes, boss? Let's have some music up on here, please. Okay, boss. Let me just grab my radio.
Ah, that is better, Fernando. Now, let's continue with the trim. Now for the top of the head. There's a lot of hair here, Richie. Let me just grab the electric razor. So, Richie, have you heard about the disturbance in Horsell Common? Not far from here, no? Yes, I have, Antonio. It's scary to think that the gang are actually my age and are at college. I wonder whether I know them.
But Richie, you are a good guy. I know you wouldn't mix with those sorts of people.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, Richie. Now I just need to neaten up the sides and voila! We are finished, my friend. I'll just go around your left ear. And now your right ear. Finito. What do you think?
That's great, thanks, Antonio.
Nicer to see you, my friend. Okay, come back soon. Okay, you can now continue narrating.
Richie paid for his haircut, walked out of the door, and began to walk home. When he arrived home, he contemplated going out for a quick run. He entered the lounge where his mum and dad were sitting down. "Hey, how's it going?" Richie said to his parents. "Good. How was your haircut?" his mum said. "Yeah, fine. That Antonio guy is crazy, though." "Well, the crazy guy knows how to cut. It looks good." "Oh, hey, your dad shot a 32 at golf today." Richie said, "Mum, you know I don't know what that means. I don't like golf." His dad said, "I didn't like golf at your age, Richie. But when you grow up, I'm sure you'll become like me." "Okay, Dad, we'll see," he chuckled. "Anyway, I'm off for a run." I hope you're not going to Horsell Common," his mum said. Richie looked at his mum and stayed quiet for a few seconds. She looked back at him. "Right, Richie?" Yeah, I mean, no, don't worry, Mum. I know about the disturbance. I'll stay away." "Good man," his dad said. Richie looked down at the ground in deep thought, looked up and said,
"See you later, guys."
He put on his woolly hat and headed out the door. Chapter 3. Into the Woods. As he began to run down the path, he spotted the woodland of Horsell Common. He stopped, looked at the woodland, and headed towards Horsell Common. He waited for a little while, before he crossed the main road to the woodland and started running again. For the next 20 minutes, Richie happily ran his usual track around the common. On the way back from his run, he stopped and took a break. Richie suddenly heard a faint rustling sound. He quickly turned his head to the right, then looked away. The rustling sounded again. He began to walk over in the direction of where the sound was coming from. While walking over, he came to a halt where a large slanted slope in the ground came down to another path in the woods. On that path, a group of 4 people were standing around talking to each other. He dropped to the ground and hid behind a tree. Deep in his mind, he knew that this could possibly be the gang from the newspaper. Well, this has to be the most convenient time to come to Horsell Common. He looked on as the 4 people stood around chatting for a while, looking as if they were discussing something. Richie couldn't quite make out what they were saying, as the 4 people were at quite a distance from him. They each took something out of their bag and began to run down the pathway. Richie got up, began to follow them across the high ground that he was on. As he was running, the 4 people bared off to the left and Richie stopped. He could no longer follow the 4 people, as the high ground only went straight on. He looked over at the 4 people, who also stopped just outside a house, with a high wall surrounding it. Looking down from the higher ground, Richie attempted to slide down the slanted slope with nothing to hold on to. He put out his left foot, and then his right foot, before he suddenly stumbled and slid all the way down the slope. One of the 4 people heard a noise from Richie's stumbling and looked behind themselves.
Hey, look over there.
2 of the people rushed over to Richie and grabbed him. "Richie?" one person said, surprised. Richie looked up and knew who they were straight away. Andrew? Sarah? Chapter 4. Surprise Encounter. "Richie, you look shocked, mate," said Andrew. "What are you guys doing? Don't you know you're in the bloody newspaper?" "Yeah, but those guys have got completely the wrong idea about us. That old bastard is trying to make us young people look bad," Sarah said. "Who's this old guy?" Richie said. "You know our science teacher, Mr. Daniels?" Andrew said. "Yes," Richie responded. "He lives in that house over there, and we suspect he might be developing chemicals, or in other words, drugs, and selling them to people overseas." "What? How do you know this?" "Have a look in his garden. There's a greenhouse that looks like it's full of chemical ingredients. Definitely not just your average plants," Sarah explained. "We'll show you, come on." The three of them rushed over to the other two lads, looking over the wall surrounding the outside of the house. "Good evening, you two," Richie said. The pair turned round in great surprise to see Richie. "Richie? Wow, what are you doing here?" one said. "I could ask you the same question, Thomas." Thomas looked at Richie worriedly. "It's okay," Richie said. "Sarah and Andrew have told me everything. My question is, why did you guys vandalise this property?" "We didn't." "Sam, what do you mean we didn't?" "We didn't vandalise his stuff. I spotted the old man doing it to his own house. It was to make it look as if we did it because he spotted us looking over his wall. He then caught us when we entered his garden as soon as we saw the graffiti on the walls. We think the old guy has set us up to hide the fact that he is developing these drugs to sell on to people," Sarah said. "Don't you guys think we should call the police about this?" Andrew said, "Unfortunately we can't, Richie. We're in the newspaper, remember? The police are already aware of us and the old man will find a way to pin it on the four of us. Maybe even you, Richie." "This guy's clever, mate. We've got to be careful," Thomas said. "Then why are you guys here? Let's go and keep out of trouble. Why do you think I don't go out with you lot if this is the sort of stuff you get up to?" "Look, Richie, it's fine. We are just here to record evidence to show to the police. What do you think this video camera is for?" Sam said. "But this is, This way we can prove to the police that Mr. Daniels is a drug developer," said Thomas. "Well, I guess you guys are doing the right thing. I mean, I can't believe Mr. Daniels is a drug developer. He was like my favourite teacher at school." "Same," Sarah said. "But it's time to bring this guy to shame." Richie looked at the four of them and said, "I'm going to leave you guys to it. I'm sorry, I can't be here right now. My parents will expect me back any minute." Richie turned round. He gazed up to see Mr. Daniels looking down at him. "Mr. Daniels,
You as well, Richie. You little shit. I'm putting an end to your spying."
The four others turned round to see Mr. Daniels holding a shotgun.
"I see you have a video camera there, Sam. Been recording me as well, have you?"
Sam looked at Mr. Daniels angrily.
"Well, it looks like you're the first one to go."
Mr. Daniels held up his shotgun at a terrified Sam.
"No!"
Richie shouted and pushed Mr. Daniels, causing him to miss Sam by an inch. Richie got up and all five of them began to run.
"Come back here!"
Mr. Daniels got up from the ground and began to chase the five of them. Chapter 5. You can run, but you can't hide. The five of them came up to a split pathway. Richie shouted,
"We need to split up. Sam, you come with me and you three head off in the left direction. But Richie, there's no time to think, Sam. You've got the video camera with the evidence."
Sarah, Andrew and Thomas looked at each other and nodded as they quickly headed off to the left, while Richie and Sam headed off to the right. Richie looked behind himself to see Mr. Daniels deciding to chase the two of them.
"You're not getting away with that video camera."
Richie and Sam continued to run, breathing very heavily.
"How is this guy keeping up? He's like 50.
Sam said.
"What's the bet? He was in the military before he started teaching."
Richie replied.
You know, considering we're running away from a crazy old man with a shotgun, I'm really surprised I'm having this conversation with you. Come on, let's go through these trees and try and lose them there.
They both headed off the path into the trees. While they ran through the trees, their footsteps made a lot of noise from all the sticks on the ground. Mr. Daniels continued on the path until he heard the snapping of sticks from where Richie and Sam were running.
So you think you're so clever, huh?
Mr. Daniels shouted.
I'm coming to get you!
He entered the trees where Richie and Sam were running. Meanwhile, Richie and Sam stopped as they heard the gunshot, and Mr. Daniels shouting.
You can't hide!
Sam whispered. Quick, let's hide behind one of those trees and give him the slip. What? He'll catch us, mate. Richie responded. If we run, he'll just keep following us. We need to be sneaky. Richie sighed and agreed with Sam. They each hid behind the tree they were standing closest to. As Richie looked around the tree, he spotted Mr. Daniels inspecting every inch of the surrounding area. Richie turned to look at Sam. I'm really not sure about this, Sam. I think he'll spot us, Richie whispered. Just hold tight, Richie. It's going to be okay. The two of them waited as Mr. Daniels slowly walked past them from a distance. Quick! He'll see us from the side. Move round the tree, Sam said. Richie tried to avoid stepping on sticks as he shuffled round the tree. He looked up at Sam. A rat scurried past him on the floor. Mr. Daniels was alarmed by the sound that the rat made, held up his shotgun and pointed it over in the direction of where Richie and Sam were hiding. Mr. Daniels began to walk over as Richie stared at Sam anxiously. Mr. Daniels stopped and looked round very briefly and said, I know you boys are out there. You can't hide. Mr. Daniels shot at the rat, killing it. He laughed. That's one rat killed. Now, where are the other two rats around this area? Mr. Daniels continued on past Richie and Sam. Richie turned around the tree. He's gone, Richie said. See, I told you we'd give him the slip, Sam said. To be fair, that rat helped us out a lot. They both headed back to the path. Chapter 6. Denouement. When they got on the path, Richie rang Thomas and spoke with a sudden urgency. Where are you guys? Have you gone home?
Yes, we have. Are you guys okay? What happened?
We're fine, mate. We managed to escape and we're both heading home now. How are Sarah and Andrew?
They are fine. They've both gone home.
Thomas responded. Glad to hear they're okay. I'll ring them both when I get home.
Richie, is Sam safe? Are you guys going to hand in the video evidence to the police?
Yeah, Sam's good. Richie turned round to see Sam had gone. Richie suddenly started to panic and shouted.
Sam, where are you?
He dropped his phone.
Richie! Richie, what's happened? Richie!
Richie looked round the surrounding area. A faint voice came from the distance.
I'm coming.
Richie headed in the direction of the faint voice and looked round frantically.
Sam! Mate, where are you? Don't fool me around, man.
As he continued running, he spotted Sam lying by a tree, badly hurt.
Sam!
What has he done to you? Sam was struggling for words, as he had been badly beaten up by Mr. Daniels. Where's the video camera, Sam? He took it, Sam said very weakly. Listen to me, mate. Flee. Get out of here. It's a trap. He's coming to get you. I'm not leaving you here, mate. You're my best buddy. Come on. I'm getting you out of here. Richie could not lift Sam as he was in too much pain.
It's no use. You have to go, Richie. Or else he's going to kill you. You're a good guy. And I'm just a stupid guy who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. I tried to do the right thing for once and catch this old bastard.
Richie looked at Sam hopelessly, as he knew there was nothing he could do without risking his own life. He felt that he didn't deserve any of this, and thought about why he was even there, as he had always stayed out of trouble before. Richie said,
I should have never got involved today. And you guys should have never got involved with Mr. Daniels in the first place.
Sam nodded, with Richie gazing into his painful eyes. Richie got up and said, I'm calling the police.
No, Richie, wait!
Richie ran over to where he dropped his phone and looked round to see that it had gone. A sudden whisper came from right behind him.
I've got you.